Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, peace and blessings, family. Dr.
Grand
Marilyn, glad to see y'all.
Rising, Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
And rising, bless
Grand
family, love
Rising,
y'all.
Grand Rising.
If you're speaking, Professor Marilyn, we can't hear you.
Peace and blessing, Coach Chantel.
Good
Glad
morning.
to be here with you.
Good morning.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Right. Professor Marilyn, is there anything they're going to need today? Can you hear me? No, she might not be able to hear me. Let's get started.
Wake up everybody, it's time to get up. Wake up everybody, it's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together. Can you hear me? Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Yes, we can now.
Okay, welcome to the village, I guess I can say. Today we're talking about practicing those Kwanzaa principles in real time every day. And we're looking at using psychologist Abraham Maslow to audit if we're doing things the right way for the best result, right? And so you've seen the slides before. Um, my name is Marilyn Douglas-Jones. I'm an educator, consultant, business person. On the Maslow's slide, we see 5 levels of need, right? Abraham Maslow's theory has these 5 levels. The first one is physiological. You need food, you need shelter, you need water, very basic things that when children are born, we provide that for them. And then as adults, we provide them for ourselves. And living in a community where there is government, we make sure that we have the access to the best of all of that, right? So we look at the role of government, the individual, and the community, civic community, to make sure that we have that physiological need, safety need, love and belonging, esteem, and self actualization. Now, these are not in isolation. Each need level will build up on the previous level, highlighting the importance of meeting the basic needs first, right? If it's always that image of the pyramid, like that bottom is that strong foundation. So everybody needs that, and everybody has to have that physiological need to survive. And then as we go up the pyramid, up the ladder, we then will thrive, right? And this hierarchy emphasizes motivation, right? What's our motivation? how are we fulfilling those needs from basic needs to advanced personal growth? Next slide. And of course, we're applying Kwanzaa principles to all of those. So, with that physiological need, as I mentioned, it's foundation, right? Health and wellness. We need that food. We need that water. That baby needs shelter. We need health care for sick. Children get vaccines. And all those fundamental requirements help us to maintain health and wellness. But it needs to be the right food as well, right? And of course, we know that in the majority of indigenous communities, there are disparities in access to these essentials, especially fresh water. The world will never run out of water. That's a panic propaganda. The challenge is based on how we treat water, how we pollute. The world can run out occasionally, in some areas especially, of fresh water. So these things, good food, fresh food, organic food, fresh water, right? The right shelter, depending on where we live and the climate. Those things are vital for improving the health outcomes in African American and other indigenous communities, right? Don't think there will be a lot of doubt or challenge about that. So we can move, if we understand this foundational part, we can move to the next slide, please. Okay. And so safety needs. Personal safety is fundamental. It then becomes, for us, we need to know how to protect ourselves in different ways. We've got the immunization, we've got public safety, we've got family planning, right? We have hygiene. Personal security includes protection from violence at home, domestic, and secure living conditions in public, as well as national safety, right? Financial stability. Financial security supports our well being. It makes us feel financially safe, secure, because we have access to the resources we need and we're not stressed out about what's going to happen between now and the end of the month. And then, of course, stability comes not just from us having those things, right? We need the community to work together so that we have these strong networks to provide the emotional support we need and the collective security to face systemic challenges. What's the point of being not just surviving but thriving, and then our personal safety is at stake because people want to rob us because they're not, right? So we have to work together on multiple levels to make sure we have these safety needs. Now, what are some challenges in our community? These are some basic challenges in our community because people who are deprived will get it one way or the other, and it puts others at risk, right? Are we having anything in the chat yet? Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Okay, Cassandra, at the hotel in South Africa, you're fine if you went over a shower time? Yeah. Actually, the whole world, including the US, is in a water crisis. We just happen to be able to pour bleach into everything and we can boil and all of that. But that crisis, the world wars will really be about those basic needs. And water is a big deal because we use water to power electricity. That's a lot of water. And AI is said to be one of the polluters, right? So we have to be careful. Yes, it's a lot of our conveniences cause inconvenience somewhere else. Okay. Um, and so what are some thoughts about that? Any other challenges you've seen in your travels or in your neighborhood with providing these safety needs? What are some safety needs that concern you? Feel free to jump in and let me know. Um,
Grand Rising. I've been on a few calls recently discussing the AI issue and how it uses billions of dollars of water to keep the things cool and how much water we use every time we enter a prompt. And so the concerns are that they're pulling this water from Black communities and things where water is already an issue. So we have to think about that because I know I'm an AI person. I'm like going crazy with the AI thing, and so we just have to learn more and understand the negative side of it, the consequences, and who it's actually affecting. Thank you.
Thank you. And when you think about it, every device that you use gets hot, right? If you use it too much at one time. And so with these giant machines or, the technology, we're getting the simplified version and the delivery version. But behind the scenes, what does it take to make our lives simpler? Right. I know I've been trying to work with AI recently just to jog my memory about things or research something new that's happening to make sure it's factual. But even that programming is not necessarily in our favor. Right. And then, of course, we have lots of security challenges. Food security is a problem. Right. In a hurricane, for example, they tell you ahead to go buy, stock up. But suppose you live paycheck to paycheck. That may come at a time when you can't stock up. So that's food insecurity. Then, of course, in our neighborhoods, we have food deserts. So both income and location can impact our social stability, right? Be it food. And then, of course, if you have it and someone else doesn't have it, they're going to try to come and get some from you and not necessarily in the friendliest way. We've seen looting and things like that in the past on the news, right? So, how easy is it for us to build community where we are, right? Because we need those strong community networks for both collective security and emotional support. So
Um,
safety is crucial. Someone
I
wants to
just,
say
yeah,
something?
I want to say something. I feel that, like out here we have a lot of gardens, right? And I just
Mhm,
feel like people not utilizing the gardens to deal with the food insecurity. They have pantry stuff. Some of the pantry stuff is good, and some of it isn't. But the point of it is that, um, like, what I do is I keep bottles of water because sometimes our toilet system just shuts down, and so we got to be without water for hours
mhm.
sometimes. So I just make sure I keep bottles of water. I
Yeah.
do purchase bottled water. It'd be
Mhm,
like $1. Something like Walmart has spring water for $1. So I purchase
mhm,
water, at $1. So I make sure I
mhm,
try to keep water and like they sometimes they tell you that the water's gonna be up, sometimes they don't. So I always try to
mhm,
keep water so I can, flush toilet, wash my hand, whatever. But the fact of like you're saying is that I don't think we have the shortage as much as we think. I just think that they have told us that to try to, have us be in a frenzy because I've never seen so much gardens out here. I'm in
mhm,
Queens and they have a lot of gardens. And it's like if they have such an insecure thing, why aren't people
mhm,
using gardens? Because everywhere they have all these gardens. So why aren't people using the gardens to get the fresh food instead of going to the store? Because now they let you use your food stamps, different things. You have
mhm.
EBT, whatever, but you can go get the fresh fruit. So
Right.
why aren't people using those things? That's what I'm trying to understand.
That's true. That's very true for those who have that access, right? Um, But what about the homeless people? What about people who aren't living close to gardens? Because New York, for example, is different from, say, Texas. Texas has more access to fresh food, even though we have food deserts in the urban areas sometimes, right? So the thing is, we all have access to some kind of food, but is it fresh? And then is that garden, who's managing that garden? Because it may not be as organic or it may have pesticides. So we need to wash properly, and then, of course, the bottled water is really tap water that's been filtered a little and could still be filtered some more, right? So the problem isn't access to water, but fresh, pure water. And then, of course, in the store, you pay more for what's really good, right? The next slide talks about love and belonging, right? And that's where family comes in. And we have one of the largest populations in the world, right? The map makes it look like we have a very large country as well, and everything's going to feel large to an individual, right? But love and belonging starts at home. And actually, you're buying love from your, it's a transaction with your child. If you feed the child, if you clothe the child, if you give the child the things they need as a baby, right? They're connected to the giver, the provider. And that's the beginning of love. But that love is based on need, right? And then if other people in the community are moving around and supporting the child in different ways, that's belonging, right? You're in a family. Sometimes, well, it starts out being two parents to make the child, but in some cases it may then separate, and that person that's with the child is the one that that child depends on for support, stability, right? Overall well being. And if that's provided properly, we see the child as loving us, right? If we have a spouse and that spouse is helping us to provide these things or providing it completely, we can view that as loving us and belonging to this couple, being faithful, right? So we're clothed, we're sheltered, we have our all physical needs met. And so we feel an overall well being. And then we go out into the society and we have these social networks, right? Where you do have the gardens and you have additional layers of support. If it's a very densely populated um, situation where you have a lot of apartments, for example, high rises, then those gardens, you can't have your own garden on a larger scale. So it's good for everybody to have community gardens to go to and get what they need, right? But it's interesting that I've noticed in some cities, especially that are tourist cities, if a homeless person comes, just like everybody else is getting the stuff for free or cheap, and a homeless person comes by, they chase the homeless person away. So, are we really being as conscious and as mindful as we need to be about the needs of others as a community, right? And then, of course, we're looking at the cultural connection, which builds resilience. If you're around your people, your tribe of any kind, doesn't even always have to be ethnic, but with African Americans, of course, then we feel someone has our back, right? Um, you go to the barrio, same thing. They look out for each other. They can tell when a stranger's in there and they figure out what they want and they make sure to protect the environment, right? You don't just let strangers in your house, you protect your family. You if you understand your community, even in a diverse community, if we are the networking kind, right? The social kind, we know who belongs and who doesn't, and we look out for each other, of course. And then back in the day, we went and got a cup of sugar from somebody or an egg from somebody, right? We built community at that point. But again, the garden that Teresa brought up is a good way of building community. If you don't just go get it, you're talking to the people, right? Networking. Any comments about that? We kind of, I'll accept Teresa's comment on that. What's in the chat?
So Cassandra said, instead of addressing the insecurities, they highlight and address the crime resulting from the insecurities.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad you said that because we will get back to that. Yes, and that's where the bias comes in, or the prejudice, or the racism, right? Next slide, please. I'm moving along. Esteem needs. So we're well fed, we're well clothed. Um, Now we're in school and we're accomplishing things. We have a trade and people are proud of us. We've been through that before. We now feel good about ourselves and our place in the family or our place in the society, right? And so that recognition gives us a boost, a confidence boost, right? We're getting recognition for those personal achievements. And then of course we're moving up. When you think about it, HBCUs um, gave Black people an opportunity, a larger opportunity, not just the first Black at a white school, but everybody in the Black school is Black. And so that helped us overcome certain societal barriers. The main thing was to prepare us for work, right? When in the technical schools, they prepare you for labor. In the universities, you get a little thinking, but you're not being taught the full history. You're being prepared to work in an office. And you might feel great that you're supervising someone or you're not outside. You know, you've got the blue collar, the white collar. Now for women, you got the pink collar. You know, that's middle class society or middle income society. And sometimes the pay is not as great, so it's really lower middle income, right? But we overcome those societal barriers if we look around the community and we've worked together and see what those gaps are. We fill those gaps, right? And it promotes positive self identity. You got your fraternities, you got your sororities, you got your Masons, you have your clubs, you've got, Jack and Jill that you put into the children, right? And you're proud of your school, and in as much as we'll buy the pom poms and the colors of the school, are we even giving back to the school at that point? The amount of money we spend just to dress up and go to homecoming, right? Could that have bought some books for somebody? But it's if you can afford both, please do it. But whatever makes you happy at that point, because again, it's your self worth, how it makes you feel, how others view you, respect you, right? And this sense of achievement on graduation, parents are screaming, "That's my daughter, that's my son, that's my cousin, that's my neighbor." It feels good to have people connect with you and boost your ego, right? Next slide, please. We're getting close to the bottom of the hour.
We have some HBCU graduates in here.
I see. Cassandra,
E9 Deltas is out.
Hampton.
They even with the Hampton, it was started by a white man.
Mhm.
People don't.
Most HBCUs are gifts, basically,
Yeah,
but it's gifts to make us work.
yeah, exactly. And then, but one of the things I really appreciated, like they were moving towards different ways in which that we can go into jobs. For example, if you were in business school, you had to either take sailing or golf because a lot of white people, when you close in deals, those are the sports and the things that they do, right? And so how do you make it that Black people can have these conversations? Like, sure, I can go on the golf course with you and I can go sailing. I know how to do these things. So
Mhm.
making it equitable and thinking outside the box of like what we need in order to have those conversations.
Networking tools.
Yes.
That's what we'll call them, right?
All right.
And basically, it's building the Black bourgeoisie.
Right. I was going to say that. And there's a book called Member of the Club.
Hmm.
That's one of them as well. So like the Black elite as well.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right. And then sailing, that's not a down south thing so much.
Right.
It's the coast, right? You're on the coast, that matters. Tennis, you can play anywhere. And look what it's done for Serena and Venus, right?
That was
And now Coco and all of these people, right?
So that was those were their PE classes.
Mhm.
Tennis, sailing, and golf. Yes.
Absolutely. And then golf was the man's thing to get together, hang out, get to know each other, give tips, maybe include a little nepotism, right? So if you know so and so, he'll hire my child.
Mm-hmm.
That's, or that's how I get a promotion because I went and played golf with the boss or
Right,
tennis with this person or go to tea at the club, golf club. The
right.
women can sit, and look pretty. And the men are playing, right?
Yeah.
So it shows you it's a game, isn't it?
Other one with the endowment, a lot of us have student loans, right? And so as opposed to PWIs, predominantly white institutions, where it's
Hmm.
hard to get back on a monthly basis or a yearly basis sometimes.
Hmm.
So you see the HBCUs endowments are less than PWIs in
Hmm.
back, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And depending on the school you go to, who gets the job first, right? Because it's about competition too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then the high paying jobs go to one group still. And then the not so high, even though you're hired for the same position, there's a range at which you're hired. Everybody doesn't get hired at the same level or amount, right? So we have to look at that. And then they told you don't talk about salary. You could even get fired for talking to each other because they don't want you to find out
Right,
the differences, right? And then here comes DEI to upset everything,
right.
right?
Or just cut it out.
And yeah. Plus now it's published what your salary is in many cases, right? And you know the plumber makes so much an hour and all of that. But in the blue collar, the white collar situation, they didn't want you to talk about it because that was more room to discriminate.
Right.
Okay. So that positive self-identity, I can either drive, a nice Toyota. I didn't want to drive a Yugo, and people may not, I'm aging myself besides my hair. Who wants to drive a Vega, right? So now we can all do the Lambos or the Maseratis or the BMWs, and so we're singing about them. So the pressure is on to promote that positive outward identity, but the self identity comes from your accomplishments, your skills, that belonging from before, right? And so let's go to the next slide.
Should
And
be,
then mm-hmm, go ahead.
this is the next one, right? Self-act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so we have come to where we've done all this, we've accomplished all this, we have all this. And so we're now feeling good enough to give back at some point. It focuses on our inner self, realizing that full potential. I can play tennis, I can golf, I can sail myself, right? And then I've got my sorors or my frat brothers, and I've got my family, of course, and the job. I'm educated. I have one certificate, 2 degrees, three, whatever, and all of those things that help us to feel we've arrived. But then at the same time, this is where we give back, right? We encourage that in others. We become leaders, not just a leader promoted on the job, but at church, you're the head usher. Um, you're the usher. You're collecting the donations, right? You're heading the Girl Scouts or Boy Scout group. So you're giving back now. You're mentoring for Jack and Jill, big brothers, big sisters. And so you're empowered and fulfilled in all these different communities. Now, if we can go back to that first slide, I'll tell you a tip that you may not think about it that way, right? Um, Okay, that the very first did we put the picture? Yeah, the one with the pictures, the Maslow and the Kuji Chagalia. We'll show how that works. The Kwanzaa, right? Okay, slide. I guess that would be slide number 2 or 3. Okay. And so we look at the role that Maslow plays in the individual, but we realize that to be the best or to feel the best, it takes the family and then the community, and then, of course, government enforces those things. So all of these things work together, and we can thank, Dr. Maulana Karenga for doing the research and putting these together, and his vision helps us to be a cultural community, right? But when you look at the pyramid itself, that first level, those physiological needs, that's what we say grace about. That's what we are thankful about. And there's a tip I can give you that every religion at some level has beads. They use the beads to count what the Catholics you might be familiar with, but the Muslims have it too, and the Buddhists have it too. And if you watch an African movie, they had it first, right? They use it in their spiritual divinations and, what they do good or bad to people. So those beads remind you of each aspect of your life that you should be grateful for or ask for. Okay. So that basic bottom purple that you see, those physiological needs, you're grateful for food, you're grateful for shelter, you're grateful for life in general, right? And so the next one, which is the safety, right? You're being careful. So these are the words that go with each of these, and it comes from the individual first. So you can then turn around and be helpful to others, right? So I'm grateful for food, clothing, shelter, and I'm careful about how I take care of myself and when I'm among others in risky situations. And then in the third one, I am mindful, right? Which it may sound like careful, but I'm thinking now and working with others, right? To make sure that I want to belong or I want to help someone else feel like they belong. And I'm mindful of how I carry myself so that I can show a sense of pride and esteem, right? We're back to that. Okay. And then I'm purposeful. I do things a certain way to get a certain result for myself internally or for my public. Again, that esteem looking thing. And then if I do all of that, I've been grateful, I've been careful, I'm mindful of others, and I'm purposeful in my behavior, I then feel powerful. I've done the best I can in the situations I had, and I've moved up and on to be the best that I can be. And now, again, fulfilling those needs, I'm beyond that to fulfilling the needs of others. And then I'm spiritually comfortable, right? So we can be grateful for what's provided for us, what we can provide, have the ability and access to provide for ourselves and others. We are careful to make sure that it's healthy for ourselves and for others. We are mindful that others are not as blessed, right, as we are. And we are purposeful in paying it forward. And so that all works together to make us feel powerful, and we can advocate for others and we can perform actions. And we heard Chantel talked about endowment. There are banks that when you have an account at the bank, they give you maybe $1,000 in life insurance for free. I always have to come back to the financial, right? Because you had to pay for all these things, the clothes, the food, right? But if they're giving you $1,000 free, what's stopping you from different having accounts at different banks so that you're leaving something maybe to your religious institution, your school, your neighbor, whoever, but that's money that you're not at some point someone's paying for it, but you were told it's free, the first 1,000, and you could pay for more. But if you could do that without spreading yourself too thin by opening up, 2 or 3 bank accounts, that's money that you can donate somewhere, right? And so all of these things, being grateful, being careful, being mindful, being purposeful, intentional, right? It makes you feel powerful because you're accomplishing those things in a deliberate way. Then you become awesome and not awful, right? So that's my little rhyme for today. Be grateful, be careful, be mindful, be purposeful, and you'll be powerful. And if you do that in a positive way, you'll be awesome. But if your motivations and your actions are negative, you're being awful, right? And so, any comments on that? Pretty much complete.
Is
I hope that helps
it possible
somebody.
to put that on Facebook, those words on Facebook, so we could see it? We can look at it and copy and paste it. Be really good.
Sure. Grateful, careful,
Yeah,
mindful, purposeful makes you powerful.
I hear what you're
If
saying.
if you use it for good, you're awesome. But if you use it to hurt other people or to use other people, you're being awful. And then, of course, we can say, as an individual, as the community, as the government, or as a culture, what are we doing, right? If we want unity, which is Ujima, right? That means we have to work together. We don't just have it. Your color isn't the only thing. You have to like each other. We have to work together, right? And if we want to make the community work, we have to work together collectively, right? Between Ujama, right? But it starts with self determination when you're thinking for yourself. When you're at the most basic need, you're depending on others, your parents, the community. It's an interdependency all the way to the top, right? But then integrity is what you do when no one's looking, right? So we are grateful for our basic needs. We are careful in our public spaces. And when we choose how to meet those basic needs, we are mindful of others, giving them a sense of belonging, getting ourselves a sense of belonging. That's that cultural mindfulness. And we are purposeful when we give back or pay it forward, or we do things for ourselves without hurting others. We're thinking about what we're doing. And that makes us powerful because we're confident, we're in control as much as anyone can be. And so we are awesome if it's positive, and we're awful if it's negative. We keep it simple, right? So we can see things for what they are and do things as needed to make things work for ourselves and others. And can I hear from, we
We have
can maybe
Adam.
take another minute?
Yeah, we have Adam.
Okay, good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Professor Marilyn. Good morning, World Nation. How y'all doing this morning?
Awesome, thank you.
Good. That 7 principles that you just showed is just a reminder that each of us should, take accountable for what we do on a daily basis. And it's beyond, how much money we have, whether we have a little bit of money or a lot of money. It all boils down to our belief systems each and every day. And also, it's all about what we're grateful for, and not get distracted and sidetracked by the outside voice, whether it be the media, social media, or what somebody else is telling you, because sometimes the people that live closest to you could be the same people that could deceive you at the same time. It's all about picking and choosing what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So we can, move forward and grow within ourselves before we give to others, because we can't get to others if our spiritual values are not right at all. So it's really no getting around it. So thank you for, having this conversation on the seven principles that we need to implement each and every day, because it's not just hearsay or word of mouth. It's a way of life. And thank you, Professor Non-Complete.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else in the chat?
Laura said the ways and rituals of our ancestors were used to construct organized religions as tools of oppression and control. So why not do a Sankofa and go back to fetch the original ways of our ancestors? Or
Absolutely.
you would come off mute?
Yeah, I have my hand up. Um, Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Thank you, Professor, for
Grand Rising.
this topic. Yes, and what I wrote has been coming up for me in recent times. Yes, so when you spoke about the beads and where it started originally, the thought came back to me about how our ways and rituals were used to create these organized religions that, to me, this is my
Mhm.
opinion,
Mhm.
have been used and are being used as tools of power, control, and oppression. So when I look at it, I'm like, what will it take for us to go back, Sankofa, go back and fetch those ways? You know, wow. I was at a uh, healing, spiritual cleansing early Saturday morning, and I was amazed at the ways, the same ways that I grew up being afraid of, the ways our African spiritualist organizations in Jamaica practiced were the same ways these people were using now. And I was like, this is a technology we need to go back to. So, I'm so grateful for you bringing that up and reminding me to use my beads daily instead of having them sitting there. So, thank
Mhm.
you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll even give you another um, tidbit, because they call it trivia because they want to downplay the real facts of life, but it's not trivial, right? So the white handkerchief, of course, we had cotton, all right? And the white handkerchief was very important. Even in church, you have the handkerchief, you have the head covering, you have whatever it is each group does. But the white handkerchief is a medical device. Why might I say that? Because when you blow your nose on a white handkerchief, whatever color comes out tells us what's going on with our health. Okay? So the next time you see a white handkerchief, think of it as something our grandparents used. They may wave it in church, but it was intended from hundreds of years ago, once we started weaving cotton, that our spiritual leaders, our medical practitioners, used it to determine when you blow your nose or cough into it, what comes out is a diagnosis at that point. So even if you're tired of hearing about Maslow or Kuji Chagalia and Kwanzaa, I like the one Kuji Chagalia. Um, you can still learn something new today, I hope. Right?
That makes sense. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And when they kiss their children, they kiss them on the forehead. If their perspiration or whatever is salty, the level of salt in that, and then of course you're getting the temperature also. So the technologies are wonderful, but really maybe we know more than, on our own. so that we can have that first foundation secure on the hierarchy, on the pyramid, right? We don't have to feel insufficient. We are enough. We're more than enough. Okay? Okay, and I am complete.
We have Teresa with her hand up and Rashida.
Go ahead.
I
Who's
just want I
first?
just wanted to make a statement. It's like we have these different things that we teaching, but it's like when do like the Wu family come together and create, like how do we start creating these systems so we all can work together and get the benefit of it? Because me doing it by myself, then we doing it with a collective. Is that like when do we start building a collective? Because each people have their gifts that they can bring to the collective, but it's like how do we start a collective so we can start work on these things, all these different things that you taught us, because you teach us some really great things. But it's like, how do we start the process as the Wu family to get it started?
But isn't Wu a collective? And
It
if
is.
you if we've been taught, we need to go out and make disciples of other people, right? And do it ourselves, lead by example.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, but as a team, I do better with a team. I know how I work. Like
Okay.
I need a community. Other
Right.
people can go. So but I'm just saying is that we have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of information, but like, how do we already, like start building with each other and creating these systems that, we're talking about is what I'm saying.
The best we can do is raise awareness, and then
Okay.
people choose to participate, right? And
Okay.
and this is an instrument that Wu is not only live but recorded, and will be, YouTube. We have all kinds of platforms to spread the word. The thing is, maybe you're asking, how do we make sure people are practicing what we're preaching, right? And that's where you build a community next to you, the physical one you can see, right? So, if you look at Christianity, Jesus went from 12 people to over 1 billion people today. How did that happen? They went out and created other disciples of them. Now we have to be careful of that third party thing, because as I put on Facebook yesterday, the direct followers of Jesus Christ are not the same, or even of Buddha or Confucius, are not the same as those third party people who only hear it and it's a version of it. So when I try to break it down enough where we do it for ourselves first, right? You put the mask on first before you try to even put it on the baby, right? Feed yourself first, and then you're in a position to work and feed someone else, right? And so I suggest to you that the collective is already there. It's even global. It's just a matter of recognizing it and not feeling so frustrated that it's not there. And the queen that's about to speak, I'm sure, has her own collective, right, Queen Rashida?
Grand Rising, Professor,
I
Grand
see.
Rising. I am so happy that you are giving out the nuggets. Is us to recollect the nuggets that you're giving out. What we're going to do with them also, because we can collect them. If we don't utilize them, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? And we, as individual, we are beings. We are beings, and we need to stop being selfish beings. Because if we continue collecting in the bucket and not giving it out, it's not going to multiply ever. And one of the things that I took away from that white handkerchief
Mm-hmm.
is I remember my grandmother. She have no kind of linen or towel if they was not white, and they was lily white. And our foreparents, we would ask, "Oh, why did that you only use white linen? Oh, And okay, at least I was a chatterbox. Always the chatterbox. And it was one of those things that remember one evening she sit down on our on our corridor. And I started to ask her, why this, why that? I said, little girl, you are very inquisitive. And I was like, why is that is only white linen? And when she teach you to make a bed, she teach you properly. If she could drop a dime on that bed, using problem. And she let us know that that white linen, it was to let she know how healthy she was. She said that when she wake up in the morning and she look at her linen, if they was
Mhm.
dark, if they was yellow,
Mhm.
something was wrong.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
until today, I still use only white linen. And when my grandkids is around, I was like, oh my God, my grandkids are going to hold dirty my white linen. But it's so important that we follow the knowledge and the collective that they was instilling in us. I know that some of our foreparents was not giving us the information, but since
Mhm.
I was inquisitive, like what my grandmother would call inquisitive little girl, go and play with your peers. Oh no, I want to know more. And today it's pay off from knowing more of what I was seeing that my peer them were not wanting to learn. But this
Mhm.
for me, it was a life learning. So thank you so much for interjecting and giving more. And please, guys, let's take the nuggets and run with them and share them. Mark your part with those nuggets. Thank you very much.
That's right. It's not voodoo. It is medicine. It is psychology. It is everything we need to do well. It's our culture. It's our spiritual gifts. Discernment. That handkerchief is a test of many things, right? Do you just, the Kleenex you fold up and throw away without even looking? You just want to get rid of that stuff. But you need to look at it. Okay. Anyone else? I guess we can sign off if not. Hello, Miss Martine, Wanja, Phyllis, Z. It's been great hanging out with you guys today. Our 30 minutes has turned into almost an hour. I respect your time, right? But use your natural technologies. Okay.
So let's pull up your slides and tell the group about your special offer.
Absolutely. As usual, it's that financial coaching. And so that collective, we have these opportunities, take advantage of them, right?
So
Word to action.
how can
You
they?
may contact me. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
just clear. Um, my phone number is there. You can use it to text me your email, or you can email me your phone number with your name so that I can send you the link. You know how that technology works. I need the email and the phone number to follow up. But people are benefiting from it. I'm very happy. That's why I keep that as the one. So my phone number is 832-495-7986, one plus on WhatsApp. The Instagram Caribbean Impact is mostly social type information. But again, the email is pvchambertx@gmail.com. Take it away, Chantel.
Thank you. I will. So we want to definitely dedicate our resources and as a collective to this collective to make sure that we have these conversations, that they're ongoing. And someone said you were dropping gems, and you are a wealth of knowledge. I always tell you that, and a resource, especially for topics like this. So we want to make sure that we can continue to have these conversations by way of the resources that we pour into this collective, to make sure that we get on here Sunday through Thursday, we can send text messages, we can get on Zoom and pay the Zoom bill and the light bill and all of that. So we can't do that without the support of the collective. And so we want to make sure that people remember to give. Giving is important. It's a exchange of energy, and like we say in this space, it's my own natural energy yield. So we want to make sure that we give back and that it's reciprocated. We get this information, and we want to make sure that we can give back for getting it. Right. So up next, join us for tomorrow. So tomorrow is actually Dr. Fatima's birthday. And so her husband, Dr. Baba J. Onaje, is going to dedicate his session to her tomorrow. I don't know if you knew that they were husband and wife, but they are. And so tomorrow he's going to be celebrating her birthday. The session topic is the phenomenal Black woman embodied as Dr. Fatima Hafiz Mueed. So join us for that. It's going to be 90 minutes. I can't wait to see what that looks like. And then we have on Wednesday for 30 minutes, we have Zaida, soothing and settling practices for clear and creative thinking. So join us for that next 30-minute session. And we want to welcome any newbies. I think I saw one or two names that were new. So if you enjoyed today's session, there's plenty more where that came from to come and in the archive. So I'll show you how to get to our YouTube video so you can watch some of our more amazing sessions over the last 5 years. And you can tune in that way. And you can also tune in during the week. So it's only Monday. We're here from Sunday through Thursday. Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays are 90-minute days. 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on Zoom. And then Mondays and Wednesdays are shorter sessions. We're supposed to be. Sometimes we go over because it's just great conversation and we can do that. And the community is giving and we stick around. So Mondays and Wednesdays, 30 minutes, 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. And then we have our Facebook. So you can also join us on Facebook. If you can't join us on Zoom for whatever reason, you can see the live stream there and the playbacks as well. And if you want daily morning reminder to let you know, hey, we're on the line, join us now, you can text all caps Woo Nation to 74121. And before we head out, I want to say thank you and ask you to register for the upcoming week. You can check out our website and make sure that you see the lineup for the day. Then we also have 2 Facebook ways that you can connect with us. We have a private page, and then we have a public group. So some people might say, I don't see my replay on the page, or I don't see the live stream. There are 2 different ways to capture that. So you want to join both the page and the group. So those links are in the chat. So get on both of them so you don't miss anything. And then we have our Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual, and our YouTube channel where we are building that out and uploading videos every day to archive the last 5 years of awesomeness. That is Woo Nation. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you'd like to join the admin team, the volunteer team, and give back and be of service and show your gifts or learn new gifts, email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to unmute everybody, spotlighting Professor Marilyn so we can give her her well-deserved love shower. So let's let it rip, y'all. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been wonderful understanding the connection we have.
God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Blessing,
Professor Miller, for this
blessing,
wonderful
blessing,
conversation.
blessing. It's a
Always,
wonderful way
it's always important to
to
stay on top of our
connect
games
with
and
each
not
Love y'all.
other,
be sidetracked and
Love
one
y'all.
confused
another,
by
the
the outside voice.
Take
community
care. God
and
bless
They
you.
depend on us,
family.
submit
Thank
to
you
their
so much.
opinions.
Love you. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure in all of this.
All the ones that was here.
And Teresa, we're already a collective, so don't worry about it. We have
Yes,
your
yes,
back.
for y'all.
So
Yeah,
much.
we just gotta come together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Love you
Everybody.
too,
Love. Have a great week.
Professor.
Bye.